child a new bike can be a pretty tricky process. Whether it's their first introduction to cycling or choosing a bike to help them progress as they grow, it really can be a complete minefield, making sure that the bike you choose can help nurture their love of cycling. I'm joined by Martin Bedell, Giant Bicycle's guru of kids bikes, to go through some of the key things that you need to look out for when picking the next bike.
Thanks, James. Hi everybody. Today I'm going to tell you about Giant ARX kids bikes. These bikes are available in 4 different wheel size options: 16 inch, 20 inch, 24 inch and now 26 inch too. ARX bikes are lightweight, they're unisex and they get the same attention to detail and design that all our adult bikes get.
Probably the most important question that any person is going to ask when choosing a bike is what size to get. So are there any hard and fast rules that you really should be applying?
Unlike adult bikes, which are generally measured by frame size, kids bikes are measured by wheel size. The key pointers that determine which wheel size is the correct size for your child are your child's height and their inside leg measurement. Once you've determined these measurements, they can simply be cross-referenced against our sizing chart here, and this will guide you towards the correct wheel size bike for your child.
So what if they're slightly between sizes? What would you sort of advise in that case?
If you think that your child might be between sizes, the best thing to do is to take them to a Giant authorised retailer or a good independent bike shop. Get them to sit on a bike that you think is within the wheel size range that they're most suited to. If you find that with the saddle right up, your child is able to sit on the bike and still have their feet flat on the floor, then simply move to the next wheel size up, as that won't leave enough room for growth. In the other way, if your child can't reach the ground with the saddle right down, then simply drop down to the wheel size below.
So with adult bikes, we're always talking about the importance of frame geometry. So when it comes to children's bikes, are they just shrunk down versions of adult bikes, or do they have like custom geometry that makes them a little bit special?
On the face of it, some kids' bikes do look like shrunk down versions of adult bikes. All Giant ARX bikes have carefully considered frame tube lengths, bottom bracket heights. You can see that this balanced geometry on this bike, combined with this 60mm stem, means that the rider is neither too stretched nor too hunched up when they're riding the bike. Ideally, we're looking for roughly a 90-degree angle between the child's upper body and their arms. This is excellent for both comfort and also ride control. 16-inch wheel ARX bikes also have a kinked top tube. This means that it's nice and easy for a young child to get on and off the bike.
So one of the things you just mentioned is about the bottom bracket height. So we know that this is quite important when it comes to making a bike stable for children, isn't it?
It is very important. You don't want a bottom bracket that's too low, although that would make getting on and off the bike easier. It actually affects the handling of the bike. If the bottom bracket's too high, that can make getting on and off the bike tricky as well. So a carefully determined bottom bracket height means that the bike is more stable and more fun to ride. The contact points on kids' bikes are really important. These ARX bikes have saddles, pedals and handlebars that are all carefully selected according to the wheel size and age range that the bike is aimed at. The handlebars here at the front end can be adjusted up to 35mm, so you can raise the bars as necessary as your child grows. Crank lengths have been carefully selected so that there is enough leverage on the pedals, but importantly that it doesn't bring the rider's knees up too high either. 16-inch wheel ARX bikes have a quilled stem rather than an A-head stem. This quilled stem allows for a greater amount of adjustment at the front end of the bike and means that the child is sitting in a nice upright position. Children don't need a huge amount of gears. All our 20, 24 and 26-inch wheel ARXs are just 8-speed. And this is because they're specified with a wide ratio freewheel at the rear here and a carefully selected chain wheel size at the front. Adding either 2 chain rings at the front or 3 chain rings at the front just complicates matters. With these wide ratio cassette and the correct size chain ring, it offers a good wide range of gears for multi-terrain riding.
And it also means that maintenance is a lot easier.
It does. There's no need to worry about whether you're in the right chain ring at the front of the bike or not. It means that your left hand is always free to concentrate on steering and braking. And really, it's just actually a direction that more and more adult bikes are going these days as well. You see more and more one-by being used, especially on mountain bikes.
So weight of bikes is very, very important, and much more so for a child's bikes. And we noticed that there's obviously an aluminium frame and an aluminium fork on here. So why do you do that?
We do that because ultimately it makes the overall weight of the bike much lighter. That means it's faster for children to ride up hills. It makes it more possible for them to ride up hills, and there is less need for the child to dismount when they come to a climb. All giant ARX bikes use our premium grade Alux aluminium tubing. This also applies to the forks as well. But for peace of mind, all ARX frames come with a lifetime warranty.
So we often see children's bikes with a lot of extra features. And one of those that tends to stand out more than anything else is the inclusion of suspension, either full suspension or a suspension fork on the front of the bike. Is this a benefit to a bike for a child?
Suspension can be a really useful feature on a child's bike, but only really if they're looking at doing some serious mountain biking. At child's bike prices, very often suspension forks or full suspension bikes are quite ineffective and heavy systems.
In terms of like the weight difference between a bike like this or a bike with suspension, what tends to be the rough weight difference?
On a 20-inch wheel bike like this, you could be looking at anywhere between 2 and 3 kilos difference in weight between this rigid fork setup here and a bike with just front suspension, for example.
Which, if your child weighs 20 kilos, then that's like 10% of their body weight. So if it was you or I, we're looking at sort of like adding quite a lot of weight to a bike.
We are indeed, and that is all weight that has to be carried uphill when you come to a climb, of course.
So obviously if we take suspension out of it, the tyres are very, very important. So you can often find bikes with really, really treaded mountain bike tyres or like very smooth road tyres. What's your take on this?
Our take on it is that as these are multi-purpose bikes, it's very important to specify an intermediate tyre. So not a mountain bike specific tyre or a road specific tyre, but a tyre that will cope with light off-road use and road use perfectly. This 1.5 section tyre on the ARX here has a really nice intermediate tread pattern. If you are to do some muddier or more heavy going off-road riding, then you can always take a little bit of air pressure out of the tyre to add a little bit of comfort to the ride. Adversely, if it's a road ride that you're doing, you may want to put a little bit more pressure into the tyre.
And obviously, all of your wheel sizes are standard wheel sizes, so if you did want to change the tyres, that's something that's very simple to do as well, isn't it?
It is. There's nothing specific about the rims on these bikes that mean they can't take either a wider or narrower section tyre. One of the extra features that we've included on ARX bikes is a quick release front hub. This makes it nice and easy to drop the front wheel out of the bike, which means that if you wish to transport the bike inside the car, it takes up less space.
Well, thank you very much, Martin. So to summarise, there are 5 key points that you need to consider when it comes to choosing your child's next bike. These are the wheel size, the contact points, the gearing, the weight, and choosing the right style of bike to make sure that your child can enjoy all aspects of cycling. Well, we hope you feel that this has given you some help to go towards picking the perfect bike for your child.
If you like this video, please subscribe.